Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
This is why I'm watching The Circle, Season 2. Okay, so we are late.
Yes.
But
we told you we were going to be.
We had stuff going on. So this is episode 9 of Season 2 of The Circle. Where do you want to start?
Boy, I don't really know where Kat got off in this episode. We can start there.
Okay.
To borrow a phrase from one of the other contestants, she came in really hot and heavy in this episode with her accusations.
She's not my favorite. I don't like competitive people. I don't.
She's also like a sneaky snake.
No, she thinks she's got it figured out, and that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because in Emily/Jack's video, he was like, beware the snakes. And so because of the information she knew, she assumed that Jack/Emily was the shenanigan. And there were no other shenanigans afoot.
Right.
So she assumed that was Jack/Emily's version of throwing shade. So she was like, okay, I found out what the deception was. It's Chloe. Chloe's the bad guy.
Sure. Okay.
And that's where because she just, and I that's just a trait I can't handle with people. And I'm the opposite of that almost to a fault. Like, I always assume there's information I don't have.
Sure.
Like, anytime somebody asks a question, I'm like, oh, I don't know. But I'm like, this game does nothing but throw curveballs at them.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Why they're so certain that they understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So, like I said, based on her reasoning, it made sense. But yeah, so she was convinced Chloe was lying.
Yeah. And she wouldn't let it go either. To the point where she was like, I have to start a chat with River and Courtney to like get to the bottom of this. And River and Courtney both are like, you're coming after Chloe.
It's her demeanor, because there's also a difference between I don't believe that, or I don't believe you, or you are lying.
Yeah, and she kept on saying,
she was like, lying. You're a liar. Yeah. And that's just something that it's like, again, like I said, it's too easy for me to believe that there's other circumstances at play than someone is actively trying to deceive me.
Right.
And especially, I mean, granted, that's an element of this game, but that's part of why we like it so much is how much it's not an element of the game.
Well, and that is specifically what I like so much about Chloe, and why I feel like she's going far is because she is being 100% herself.
Our beautiful, simple little mermaid.
I love her.
In love with the prince.
I love
does
her.
not know that he's gonna marry the other princess.
Yeah.
Delisa is a master.
She is.
Talk about someone who can sleep at night.
Yeah, I mean, apparently.
She does cartwheels to be able, because...
Well, she was like, when they were trying to name, they were doing like a pub quiz, essentially, and so they were trying to name 3 of the Chicago Bulls, and I was like, well, that's Dennis Rodman, and that's Michael Jordan, and I was like, process of elimination leads me to believe that middle one is Scottie Pippen.
I recognized the name, but I would have never gotten that.
No.
I got Rodman and Jordan, but...
Never watched a game of basketball in my life, and I was like, that's gotta be Scottie Pippen, and she was like, there has to be something in my husband notebook about this, and you were like, what would it say? The middle one is Scottie Pippen? She pulled it out, but it was very funny.
She did, yeah, but no, so when Chloe was messaging Trevor... about like
Chloe.
That's what I mean. Like, that's where I was getting at. And I was just like, she's so pretty that it's like, you have a hard time believing that she's never had these genuine interactions.
No, it's because she's so
Is that
pretty.
Okay.
It's because she's so pretty that she's never had a genuine interaction in her life. Average looking people don't have that problem.
Because she laid herself out.
She really did.
Giddy.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
It was.
And that's
especially
what I mean.
Because Delisa was like, this was like the worst.
That's what I mean with like the acrobatics Delisa does.
The worst I think she's felt about it, because she was like, oh, this girl has real feelings for Trevor. And she was like, but I gotta keep playing like Trevor.
It's the game. But the thing is, it's like she could have tempered it, and she didn't.
No, she went harder.
Like, your smile will be the prize at the end of my game. Because it ultimately was sort of implying that like Trevor was going to throw the game for Chloe. I don't know. It was like, oh boy. And she's in. There's a very out of the mouths of babes quality to Chloe.
Well, but I do love when she gets like vicious because Kat opened that private chat with her and she hucked her unicorn off the bed into the wall. And I was like, you were just riding that thing into the ground 2 episodes ago.
Well, but that's what I mean. Where like, I'm like, she's keying in on so many of
Yeah.
these things, but she's not always aware that
Yeah.
she's keying in on them. And the Kat thing, she didn't fall for. That was so funny. Her first message to Kat, where it was like, love of my life. She was like,
Yeah, she's just flipping off the camera, the circle. So good.
Kat really did cut you. She is a female athlete.
Yeah.
Baby girl. And it was like, call me baby
No,
girl.
she called her baby love.
Baby love, yeah.
Ugh, which is worse.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
I said something during this episode that I'm gonna say here too, because I think I would like it better if they were able to have more than one chat open at a time
If River and Courtney could be talking to Chloe.
while they were talking to Kat.
It might complicate it and the interns
I
having
was gonna say my only argument against it is that the poor interns, but that was where I was, because how many times were we on like AAM or whatever as kids and be like, oh my god, this bitch in the other chat is like blah 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 whatever, or even like if you're talking in a group chat and then you like private message the one person, you're like, can you fucking believe this? That's just like what I think it would be. Because then when Kat and Chloe were talking, I was like, Chloe needs another window open with Courtney and River for sure. It was just very
Courtney,
funny.
he was annoying me early on, but he
Yeah.
was hysterical in this.
Yeah.
And I fucking love River. He's so...
Okay, well, we like Lee. River is just a cipher.
Yeah,
There's
River's
nothing to do with River.
Lee is a romantic at heart,
Yeah.
hook, line, and sinker. He falls for everything. He is
So funny.
Well, okay, so I'm trying to remember if I had actually finished everything I was trying to say with Chloe. I mean, we've got time, I assume. God willing, I assume.
I do now that I love her 100%. I am like any minute now.
It was something, I think it might have been something you said, but she said something about not being high maintenance.
Oh,
And you were like, yeah, right. And I was like, I don't know. She seemed the most self-sufficient of all of them. Like,
so my issue, and it's something
she was playing Charlie's Angels by herself in this episode.
100%. The thing for me is that I see somebody who like there's like rarely a shot of her not doing her makeup. And so I'm just like, and she's got the really long acrylics. You can tell she cares a lot about her appearance. And a lot of the times to me, before I make another judgment, I'm like, well, you must be high maintenance because you are head to toe. And then it's like not until you get deeper that you're like, no, you put a lot of effort in, but it's not at the expense of
someone else. Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, you're fine. And so once you were like, no, she seems like she's good to go. And I was like, yeah, no, you're totally right. You're totally right.
Because I watched a behind the scenes video with one of the contestants from the first season of the UK version.
Okay.
And it sounds brutal. They are in isolation.
Yeah, I don't.
And the only time they go outside is when they go to the roof, and that's scheduled. It's apparently hot as balls because of all the lighting. So that's why they're so often like undressed.
Sure.
And stuff. And they like have to sort of get permission. Like, Sammy last year was talking about how she likes to shower at night, and they wouldn't let her shower at night because they want it part of the morning routine.
Oh.
And at a certain point,
I shower at night too, circle.
And at a certain point, so like they do kind of put them to bed and wake them up.
Oh,
like
weird.
Yeah. And they were talking
how we get your sleep schedule back on. We go to the circle.
And they were talking about how, and they're all there in isolation the whole time. So the first person that gets sent home is like staying in another wing of the building just on like a vacation.
Waiting, yeah.
Yeah, but they get nothing. They get a book, they get a puzzle, they get like 3 or 4 things that they can
just
bring.
One book?
That's the way it sounded.
Can I bring my Kindle instead?
But the thing is, it's like they don't have the internet, they don't have music, they don't have like, so when they get these parties, they're like, no, you're actually stoked like you're in 3rd grade again.
Wow.
To get a pizza party. And
River or Lee fucking demolished that pizza.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Oh God. And so and they were like, they were like, it's actually not that hard because they have to narrate everything.
Mm-hmm. And
they're like, you remember people are watching you.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, so that part's actually kind of easy, but
yeah.
Yeah, it sounded kind of brutal. I mean, they all end up enjoying it because it's a crazy experience, but
still
it sounded,
like a lot.
So,
we should talk about John. John. Okay, Lisa and Jack are
Love for the ages. I
they
think.
are
I think I'm shipping Lisa and Jack
They
to
also
infinity and beyond.
they're getting it done too.
They are getting the hubris that I think we've seen. Well, so far, Delisa hasn't succumbed to it.
Yeah.
But I think.
Oh yeah, but they are kind of. Yeah.
Well, so he's gay from West Virginia, a psychic and a Santa.
And 62.
62 years old, been married for 38 years.
Yeah.
They 3 children. They threw the first one in at 32 years old.
Yeah.
So what gay married psychic in West Virginia, where did they get a baby?
32 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the 80s now.
The late 80s, but they would have either. That's the thing. It would be a lot because in West Virginia, they were not allowed to adopt that baby.
Well, and so there's parts of, where I'm
Yeah.
kind of like,
Unless one of them adopted the baby alone.
or one of them had the, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like
you're asking more questions than you're answering.
Yeah. And so I'm getting a little bit of that hubris from them, although they were smart enough to figure that maybe some of the other members were bullshitting them on their number guessing.
They guess the number. Yeah.
Although 7, it's the most obvious, the most common. For the first, both Lee and Courtney picked 7.
Yeah.
And he was like, 3.
Yeah.
Who picks 3? I don't know. But I also loved Lee and Courtney and Delisa's logic, where Lee, he was like, I mean, I'm going to say yes because it would kill the conversation.
If it was wrong, yeah.
But that's the kind of strategy that I like.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't have strategy. I don't like when people are deceptive
Mm-hmm.
in like a like intentionally deceiving someone.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Like and in a game like this, I think a mistruth is different than a lie.
Sure.
But anyways, so I'm trying to think. They had the little nerd quiz.
Yeah. All their little outfits were cute. The little nerd outfits were really cute.
Lee got 100 problems. Well, and then what was fucking Mitchell with the 7 Toy Story movies?
Yeah, and 15 stripes on the flag. It's very funny. Because Delisa was like, ew, who said 15 stripes on the flag? She was so judgy about that. I loved it.
That's a Delisa special.
Yeah.
So
I feel like she's judgy in a cute way.
Oh no, I don't dislike her, but yeah, it's
It was really funny.
So yeah, that's
no eliminations, just a couple of games, some conversations.
It was John. They all love John. They well, but okay. So at first I was like, the psychic thing's a terrible idea.
No,
I was like, that's a terrible idea. It's going to be too easy for them to check. But then I was like, back to Kat. Everyone assumes there's one deception.
Mm-hmm.
They're not thinking there's 2.
Yeah.
So if he's lying about being a psychic, they think he's going to be John.
Yeah.
Lying about being a psychic.
Right.
They're not going to think the twofold.
Yeah.
It's by fairy tale.
Yeah.
It plays into the book.
It's also because Jack and Lisa were already there. They do know some stuff about each person, so they can. And the like all of them were like, oh my god, that's 100% what's happening right now. Like Delisa was like, well, that's definitely about Chloe, and it was very funny.
Well, that also goes to show you. Now, mind you, we do ultimately subscribe to a great beyond.
Yeah.
However, a lot of psychic stuff, it's a vague aphorism that you can lay over your life like a filter. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can work that into.
Courtney was like, if he doesn't know what number I'm thinking of, he's clearly not a real psychic. And I was like, that's not how it works. Like, it's not what's happening.
So yeah. Well, I think we're gonna watch the 9th episode. 10th episode.
10th episode, yeah.